Welcome to the Brian Craig Show podcast. My name is Brian Craig, and this is where MAGA comes to talk. Welcome, one and all. And boy, oh boy, it's been a pretty exciting day, isn't it? I mean, every day of Trump's second term has been exciting because things have been going so well. And we've just had, with the Massey defeat, all these victories the president had in the primaries yesterday, Saturday in Louisiana. It's just been a great time. Well, I had a call early this morning on the morning show, and he was a liberal guy, and I said to him, he was trying to downplay all these Trump victories. He says these are just Republicans running against Republicans. Who what does that mean for the general election? You guys are. And I said to him a simple question. I said, listen, who's the high profile Democrat that's running in the primaries that is favored to win anywhere? Not only could he not answer that, he couldn't name me a single Democrat, okay? And I said, that's the problem. If you don't have any candidates whose names are known, you're losing. You're losing. Well, what's happening in this MAGA nation that we're in, led by our favorite and greatest president, Donald Trump, things are so bad for the Democrats that in two of the strongest hotbeds of liberalism, Republicans are doing so incredibly well. Steve Hilton, the Trump-endorsed MAGA Republican, is, in all the polls, and has been for weeks and weeks and weeks, in first place in the California governor's race. And Spencer Pratt is moving in. There has not been a poll out of the LA mayor's race in over a week. And in the last week, our last week's poll, Spencer Pratt was only 8 points away from Karen Bass. So this is amazing. And there hasn't been a poll in the last week which tells me that he's even gained since then. And, a lot of people that are being polled in LA, these are liberally biased polls anyway, but a lot of people that are being polled anyway are afraid to admit that they're voting for him. So who knows if they even give an honest answer to a pollster. But the president today, he went to the Coast Guard Academy graduation, and when he was out on the tarmac in front of Air Force One, he was asked a bunch of questions. I'll go through some of them as the show goes on, but he was asked about Spencer Pratt in L.A.
Poland troops,
Spencer Pratt, do you see yourself in him at all? A former reality TV star?
No, I'd like to see him do well. He's a character. I don't know him. I assume he probably supports me. Does he support me?
I think so.
I think so, yeah. I heard he does. I heard he's a big MAGA person. He's doing well. I don't know. If you have a rigged vote out there, that's the problem. The votes are rigged. You have a really rigged vote in California. You have all the mail-in ballots, everything else. Very hard to win because the elections are very dishonest. If we had Jesus Christ come down and count the votes, I would have won California because I do great with Hispanics. But it's a rigged vote. They send out 38 million votes. Nobody knows where they're going. Of course, the Democrats do, I guess. But disproportionately, Democrats get many more votes. Some get 8 votes. They get 8 cards, and Republicans have to call in, where's my card? It's a rigged system. One of the most, not the worst, I'll give you a list. Maybe I'll do my list. But California is one of the most dishonest states for voting.
Yeah, well, here's the thing, though, with Spencer Pratt in L.A. And not that the president's wrong, but there's some things that we can't that haven't been factored in to what's going on in Los Angeles. Okay, there are major ICE raids going on in America's liberal cities right now: New York, Los Angeles, all of Southern California. And there's a great fear of ICE as well in California. A lot of people in California, in Southern California in particular, are terrified of ICE. And a lot of people are going to not go out and vote that would normally vote Democrat because they're afraid of getting busted by ICE. And that's one thing that is not factored into any of this. But when you look at just the idea that Spencer Pratt is a viable candidate, think about this now. The idea that Spencer Pratt is a viable candidate in Los Angeles going up against a black woman who's a Democrat, the fact that he's viable is a win in itself, regardless of what happens. This race in LA is impossible to predict. However, this is a primary, like the governor's race. So what's going to happen, Ramen Noodles is so far behind in third place. Karen Bass and Spencer Pratt are going to come in first and second and then run in a runoff against one another in the general election, like in the governor's race. Okay? And the people of LA, you can tell, even there are people out there that are lifelong Hollywood celebrities that are openly backing Spencer Pratt right now. So if they do what the president is talking about there, not only will everyone know it, they're not going to have the people on their side for something like that. And they will have a very outraged populace if they pull something like that out there. Because, Spencer Pratt, his whole platform is running against the corruption, and people are ticked off. When my daughter was living in Los Angeles, and I'd go out there to visit her, she lived in an area that didn't have these kinds of problems. So I was lucky. But, I go out there, I want to go to all the tourist places. We go downtown. It's scary. Downtown is scary. In fact, I was so scared by downtown. My daughter would pick me up at the airport and take me. And I told her, no, I want to take an Uber. She didn't want me to take an Uber, but I wanted to take an Uber because I didn't want to drive through there. We went to Hollywood because I wanted to see President Trump's star on the Walk of Fame. And you have to walk over homeless people that are passed out on, I don't know, meth, crack, I don't know what else, in the middle of right over the stars. Not the president's. The president's is all clean. There's no homeless over his star. But that's what it's like out there. And the people that live out there are fed up. And he's got lifelong Democrats on his side. And, there's been a major red pilling in this country. And, every once in a while, someone comes down the escalator or comes out of a Gulf Stream on some burned out rubble, and people gravitate to them and connect to them because they see something that, in this person that can get things done. And, this question they asked Trump was a good question. Whoever the reporter was, probably fake news person, but it was a good question. They said, do you see any of yourself in Spencer Pratt, since you both are from reality TV? And the media think that's a negative. Well, Spencer Pratt and President Trump's reality TV life's a little different. You can't compare the two. President Trump is one of the most successful real estate people in the history of the United States, so they crafted a show around his success, like he's Mr. Monopoly. Spencer Pratt's another thing, but they're both anything that's television is entertainment. So people that are in entertainment can communicate and can connect with people, right? And they think that's some kind of negative. Not only was President Reagan, who was governor of California before he was president, not only was he an actor, he wasn't a big movie star. He was a B actor. Have you seen any of his movies? They're not that good. And I'll tell you what, he wasn't that good in them. He was not a great actor, okay, Ronald Reagan, as much as we love him. But because he had acting experience, stage experience, and understood that, that helped him on the stage. President Kennedy, while he may not have been an actor, he did have training and presence on stage to present himself on television. So these things that they think are negatives are really positives. But, what's going on with Spencer Pratt, see, this is what local politics used to be all about. Local politics used to be somebody had a problem, the potholes wouldn't get fixed, and they'd run for mayor and they'd fix the potholes. That's an extreme example, but that's what's going on with Spencer Pratt. This is what politics is all about. There's a major problem in California, in Los Angeles in particular. In Los Angeles, the infrastructure has collapsed, right? When they had the fire, as an example, not only did they not have water to go to the fire hydrants, but most of the fire engines that are the ones with the tanks in them were in the repair shop. And the government of Los Angeles is not a functioning government because it's not run by people who have any competency in anything other than they don't have a penis. Check. They're not white. Check. You know what I mean? They go down these things, and they get elected that way. So people that live in Los Angeles, they are they're fed up with the infrastructure being collapsed. And one of the reasons that he has so many celebrities supporting him, Spencer Pratt, and, Ramen Noodles, her husband is an executive that worked on Modern Family. So she comes from the TV world. But one of the reasons that Spencer Pratt has celebrities is because Hollywood, Los Angeles and California as a whole has run the movie and television business out of the state. So people that are the celebrity class are pretty upset. Their whole industry's been run out of the state. The city government is not fun. A city government has just a handful of things that they have to do, right? One is protect the citizens from the criminals. They can't do it. They got all these meth heads on the streets, right? It's crazy. If you go to Los Angeles, this blew me away. When I went out there with my daughter, she told me about this, so I took out my iMaps to get directions to her house. It shows you in red Skid Row, and it said Skid Row on the map. And it's in red, like, don't go there, it's dangerous, right? So they're not protecting their citizens from criminals. That's one. I watch some guys on YouTube. They've got great, I can't think of the names. You guys can look them up. But there's several people on YouTube that have really good channels. You know what the channels are about? Driving around LA at night with the police scanner going to the crime scenes. And it's nonstop excitement, right? There's a few channels like this I've seen. There's one guy out there. This is nuts. I couldn't even believe this is real, but it's real. There's one guy who's got a channel on YouTube. You guys can search for these. I don't remember the names of all these channels, and I don't watch them. When my daughter lived in LA, I would watch the local news or these guys that are going around with the overnight crime things because I wanted to see if they were in my daughter's neighborhood, and they weren't, thankfully so. But there's one guy that's got a channel. He has drones, and he flies over this area, Figueroa Street, that's during the day, not at night, in the middle of the day, and it's filled with prostitutes that are wearing transparent clothing, walking the streets, and he talks to the prostitutes with the drone. It's crazy. Sometimes they talk to the drone, and sometimes they get ticked off. That's going on during the day. And on top of that, they're not protecting their citizens from crime. The utilities, that's another. A city government is responsible for utilities. One of those utilities is having water in the fire hydrants, which they don't have. So you've got a government that's failed the people. The rich celebrity class have a lot of time on their hands because there's no work there anymore for them, and they're upset about it. So they want it to be fixed. So they're looking to Steve Hilton, and they're looking to Spencer Pratt to fix it. And I'm going to tell you that Spencer Pratt, even if he loses, he wins because he's going to be elevated to the national stage. But he is a viable candidate. He very well could win. I just don't think, that the latest poll showing within 8 points, those are liberal-leaning polls, and I would think he's closer. And because of the ice factor, you can't really coordinate what's going on there. But some other things about it are this, okay? Spencer Pratt, I'm telling you, this may seem crazy to some of you. Spencer Pratt could end up being president of the United States one day. Do you know that? It's incredibly possible. Who would have thought Donald Trump would have been president of the United States? It happened twice. So this is really a change into what's going on in this country. And the defeat of Massey, if Paxton wins, which he's favored to next week against the incumbent Republican Cornyn, the Massey defeat, President Trump had over 30 victories in primaries last night around the country. It's energized, and Trump and the MAGA movement, we've got the momentum. And the Democrats, what do they have? Somali pirates in Minneapolis, stealing billions of dollars, fake hospice scams in California, stealing billions of dollars. They have incompetent leaders, and they have no party platform. So things are going well for us in this country. This is CNN.
The incumbents.
Yeah, look, I mean, the fact that somebody like Massey lost so overwhelmingly would suggest that Republicans are still very aligned with Trump's agenda. The reason that Cornyn is in this position, the reason Massey was in this position, is they weren't really aligned with the MAGA agenda. And so to your point earlier, too, of, is Trump going to face headwinds with his agenda now that people don't want to vote against him? The reason that Massey and Cornyn are in a tough spot in the first place is because they weren't voting with Trump's agenda.
That's right.
And that's what Republican voters
Save
want
America
to
Act.
see.
Cornyn voted with Trump.
Cornyn, if he voted for the SAVE Act, Paxton in Texas said, I'm going to drop out. So I think we're seeing a surge in the base and people who are really motivated to enact Trump's agenda, where some of these older sort of centrist candidates, frankly, haven't followed through in that regard.
Look at Anna Navarro over there, fake Republican, always passing judgment on conservatives. Look at her, look it down. Ken Paxton, he openly said if Cornyn would support and vote and get the Save America Act passed, he'd drop out of the Senate race. Think about that. And Cornyn didn't do it. The Save America Act is as important as building the wall was in the first campaign. And I think most MAGA people, I think you would agree with me on that, wouldn't you? It is as important because, if you don't have voter proof of citizenship required to register to vote and photo ID required to vote, what do you got? President Trump, the other day, he was talking when he voted here in Florida. He votes at a public library near Mar-a-Lago. And he said when he went to vote, he said to poll workers, she said, "I'm very embarrassed, Mr. President, but I need your ID." He says, "Are you sure?" She says, "Yes, I need your ID. I'm sorry, I'm embarrassed." And I was surprised that he had photo ID with him. I didn't know presidents traveled with wallets, but he provided photo ID so that he could vote. And he's the most famous face in America, Donald Trump. So if Donald Trump has to show ID, if I have to, I have to show ID when I vote here in Florida. And you know what? Not only do they check my ID, I have to sign before I get the ballot. They check the signature to see how it matches with my driver's license. Can you imagine? They do that every time here in Florida. And who's opposed to that? Who's opposed to that? People that are dead, that don't exist, or people, because our driver's licenses show us in Florida whether or not you're a U.S. citizen or not. So, or people that aren't U.S. citizens, people that got something to hide. It's just like the same thing with the police. I get stopped by the police on a traffic stop. It's an inconvenience. I'm not looking forward to the ticket, but I'm not freaking out about it, But if you're somebody that has warrants out, you get a little nervous, don't you? Absolutely. All right, here's our, if you'd like to call in, by the way, you're certainly welcome to do so. The number is toll-free, 888-465-2631. It's a toll-free call no matter where you're at. And here's the president today.
You're going to see things that are amazing. You're going to see a lot of amazing things over the next 3 years for our country. And I'd like to talk more about the economic, because we have $18 trillion being spent, and no country's ever had anything like that. We have car plants pouring in from Mexico, Canada. They don't want to be there. There's no reason to be there because they want to sell to our market. We have car companies and plants coming in from Germany, from South Korea, from Japan, coming in by the billions, and they're being built now. You're going to see things that nobody thought was possible.
Yeah, and let me finish.
He's the greatest president that ever lived. Goodbye,
That's right.
everybody.
That's what they'll say. Yeah, he's the greatest president. These things that he's talking about, these factories, this is an amazing thing. These foreign car factories that are moving here, some of BMW and such, because those cars are made in the United States, thanks to the big, beautiful bill, you will be able to deduct the interest off the auto loan on those cars that are made in the United States. It could be a foreign brand made in the U.S., you get the tax break on the interest on the auto loan. That's an amazing thing. All these jobs he's bringing back, these are big paying jobs. The auto industry is what he's talking about here. How many times have you heard elected presidents, senators, housemen in your life say, those jobs are never coming back? Those jobs are never coming back. They'll never come back. Well, they're coming back because of Donald Trump. All right. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll free. It's pinned in the live chat. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hi, it's Mike in Tennessee.
Hmm?
Yeah, do you have to keep repeating all of Trump's lies? Like, can't you run a show without doing that?
I'm not aware of any lies.
All these jobs that are coming back? Yeah, all these, all the factories being built everywhere.
Yeah, and pharmaceutical plants.
How many
Yeah.
factories?
Well,
How many factories
they're
are being
they're
built?
being built now. They don't just. He's not a genie who snaps his fingers and it's there. There's a process to build a factory. You're aware of this, right? They're being built all over the country.
Oh, right. I see them everywhere. Is he still reducing pharmaceutical prices by 1,500%?
Yeah. Yeah. Hey, listen.
Can you explain it?
No, I can't.
Can you
I'm not
explain that
explaining.
math to me?
I'm not explaining anything to you ever.
But
Because
you're
you're
just
not. Because you're
embarrassed
not.
by it.
No, because you're not a real caller.
Are
You're
you
not a
just
real
embarrassed?
caller. Every time that guy calls, he's got a different name from a different city and a different state. And I don't mind people calling, questioning me or President Trump. You're welcome to do that. But don't insult me and call in with a different name from a different location every time. You understand what I mean? I don't mind it. I always say, if you disagree with anything you hear on this program, you are more than welcome to call in. Right? No matter, you're never Trumper, Trump derangement syndrome, Democrat, and of course conservative as well. You're all welcome to call in, but I'm not going to sit here and have my intelligence insulted using a different name and a different city and state every time you call. You understand what I mean? I'm not gonna do that. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian. Dr. Nine calling out of California. How are you?
Oh, hey, what's going on?
Nothing. I don't understand what's wrong with you. Like the previous caller, like just a second ago. I mean, these people must love to live in their unhappy, pessimistic world.
Yes.
We're having some outstanding wins constantly, and it drives them absolutely crazy. And that's unfortunate. They really should reflect on where they're at in their life. And maybe come have a Jesus moment, come to Jesus moment and realize, you might not necessarily like the person, but the policies are what are making it happen.
Well, I don't know why anyone would not like
for our
President
country.
Trump. He seems like a nice guy to me.
I concur with that. I'm just saying that some people have, they make comments in regards to his personality, not liking it for this and that. My thing is this. Whether or not you like somebody or not, that's fine. You're going to find people you don't like in your orbit. But the fact of the matter is that the policies are what are affecting this country in such a positive way.
Absolutely.
What I actually went to call you about is Spencer, because being in California, there is such a positive vibe in regards to his running. Mm-hmm. And even the fact that TMZ, which was at one point trying to get a gotcha moment on him, ended up basically coming out within less than 24 hours and talking to Mark Garagos, who is an extremely famous lawyer who's done tons of work for celebrities, coming out and admitting that they had representatives from both of their Pratt's opposing team, the people that he's running against, coming out and trying to angle utilizing TMZ as an agent for chaos to use against Pratt.
Yeah.
And with that being said, it looks like Harvey Levin ended up getting upset and started recognizing some of the things that had happened to him and how much. I mean, he had to recognize it before. But now it seems that he's ended up having, a turning point and seems to be more supportive. And then Mark Garagos was supportive. So it seems that Hollywood, in and of itself, there are some people who are vocal. There are many who are not.
Yeah.
But the fact of the matter is they can't run away from what is happening in front of their faces. And I think that I think he's gonna win. The only way that he's not going to be able to win is cheating. And
well, here's what you got. This is what you got to understand. This is a primary, right? So who comes in first or second goes into the runoff together. So if they pull
Right,
something,
I
if they
understand
pull something in the primary, he has so much support in L.A. There would be a lot. People would throw a fit before the runoff. It wouldn't fly.
But see, what I'm trying to tell you is that's my point. You have the eyes of the world on this primary.
Yes.
And yes, it is a primary, but there are still rules and regulations associated with being able to vote and who can vote.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if you realize, but there was I think you actually made mention of this, that there was an expose that was done by several independent media personalities in regards to people who were being paid to register to vote.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's
And
true.
they were-
There was
and-
an
and
well,
some of them-
there
and
was
some-
an there was an arrest, and she pleaded guilty. This was a couple days ago, and that
Exactly,
and that
exactly.
is you don't think that scares some people out there in California and L.A.?
Well, that totally scares them, but what I'm saying is that there's going to be additional scrutiny in regards to the results and the physical ballot.
Correct.
And if something ends up coming up like not kosher, so to speak, it's going to be easily identified, and it's going to add even more publicity into the fact of how LA's elections are run. So you are correct. It is a win-win for Spencer, no matter what. And I just wanted to make a correction. When the term reality TV is used, it's very, it's not very accurate.
Yeah.
There's scripts in regards to reality TV.
Spencer
He's an actor
Pratt
that
show.
was, yeah.
Spencer Pratt show was scripted. They called it scripted reality.
Yeah, he is what you would call as an actor, okay?
Yes.
But as I said, because I don't know, they seem to be, they attempt to demean him for what it was that he does. And the reality realm is a theme. It's not necessarily reality per se. But anyway,
yes, exactly.
I'm excited. I'm excited about his run. I
Yeah.
can't wait. He's fantastic.
Absolutely. All right, well, it's good to hear from you. Take care. Now, if you're on hold, hang in there. If you'd like to call in, the number is toll-free, 888-465-2631, 888-465-2631. I want to talk about Jupiter Joe Thomas and annuities. You know, annuities are absolutely amazing. You know, with an annuity, your investment is never at risk. That's right. No matter what happens in the markets, the market could crash tomorrow. You wouldn't lose a penny. That's right. You know, there's also no commissions. The commission is paid for not by you, but by the insurance company. So you're not risking your investment at all, which is great. And you're guaranteed a check each and every month deposited directly into your bank account each and every month for the rest of your life. And there's many different types of annuities for different things. A lot of these annuities have bonuses that you get 10% on your money on the first day, some even more than that. So if you invest, as an example, $10,000, you get, on day one, you have $11,000. If you invest $100,000, you have all of a sudden $110,000 that you're earning on in your investment. And there's some that offer even a higher bonus. There's one that's an annuity that has an income doubler. If you or your spouse have an illness, your monthly revenue is doubled. So if you're getting $2,000 a month, it switches to $4,000 a month. It's just incredible things. Give Jupiter Joe Thomas a call and take advantage of that no-charge consultation that he offers, no matter where you're located in the world. 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And online, jupiterjoe.com. We'll take a quick break and be right back.
Caring for someone with dementia can feel overwhelming, emotional, and exhausting. Every day brings new challenges, important decisions, and moments you never want to forget. That's why Dementia Caregiver Journal, a practical guide for tracking daily care, meals, sleep, and notes for doctors from More Motivate Media was created. The Dementia Caregiver Journal is designed to help caregivers stay organized and confident by keeping everything in one convenient place. You can track daily mood moods and behaviors, medications, sleep schedules, meals, doctor notes, trigger calming strategies, and care plan updates with an easy-to-use layout designed specifically for dementia caregivers. The Dementia Caregiver Journal is also a private space to reflect, reduce stress, celebrate small victories, preserve meaningful memories, and care for your own emotional well-being during one of life's most demanding journeys. With 276 pages, guided prompts, and a portable 6x9-inch size, the Dementia Caregiver Journal becomes your trusted daily companion through every stage of caregiving. If you're caring for a loved one with dementia, you deserve support too. Order your copy right now on Amazon. Dementia Caregiver Journal, a practical guide for tracking daily care, meals, sleep, and notes for doctors from More Motivate Media on Amazon. Opening a new business in Florida? Make it unforgettable with Party in the USA. Party in the USA specialize in grand openings, corporate events, and high-impact decor that brings customers through your doors. From balloon installations, props rentals, to DJs and brand ambassadors, Party in the USA do it all. Serving all of Florida, USA. Follow Party in the USA now or book today at Party in the USA LLC on Instagram. That's Party in the USA LLC on Instagram.
All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. And remember, The Brian Craig Show is available wherever you get podcasts. And those of you watching on YouTube, please like the video if you don't mind. So there was all this talk, Paxton can't beat the Democrat Tellerico. This guy, Tellerico, is completely insane. Listen to this podcast interview clip of him. This is Tellerico, the Democrat running for Senate in Texas.
Something that you love that's not family or friends.
I love, I'm just saying this because it's on my mind, the trans children who showed up yesterday at the state capitol to advocate for their humanity. They shouldn't have to, but it was an inspiration to watch.
Oh, my goodness. I mean, out of everything in the world, that's what Tellerico... This is the guy that's going to beat Ken Paxton? Are you kidding me? Yeah, there's more. Listen to this. Here he is again. This guy.
So, obviously, we're all concerned about school safety and recent school shootings, and that concern, in some ways, has been channeled unproductively toward militarizing schools and toward kind of leaning into a culture of violence and adding more law enforcement officials into campuses.
So his solution to school shootings is to not have any law enforcement there or security to stop the shooters? That's what happened at Marjorie Stoneman Douglas here in South Florida, in Parkland, okay? The cop went and hid because he was a coward. That's his solution? That's insanity.
And so our bill would mandate that for every one law enforcement official a school district places into a school, you have to have 4 mental health care professionals, whether that's a counselor or a social worker or a clinical psychologist.
Right.
The idea is that when students walk through the hallways of their school, they should see far more counselors than they do cops. And
that would be
I'm
good.
sure you remember growing up in school that, did you have a police officer in your school?
I don't recall seeing
Yeah, we did. We had a police officer in my school. He was a Fort Lauderdale City cop. That's right.
Yeah, right. I mean,
that was in the 80s.
This hasn't always been an issue, and I talked.
That was in the I was in high school in from 85 to 89. Okay, and we had a police officer in school the whole time I was in high school.
Yeah, right. I mean, this hasn't always been an issue, and I have talked to law enforcement officials in my community, and most of them don't want to do this work. They recognize that. To be in a school requires an entirely different skill set.
That's right.
Just like they would, as a certified educator, they don't want me roaming the streets, right? In a cruiser, right?
Right.
A cruiser. I don't know. What's he talking about, cruising? They're called school resource officers, and they go through special law enforcement training so that they can know how to operate inside a school. This is the guy they think is going to be Ken Paxton. Here's another clip. Listen to this guy.
Our southern border should be like our front porch. There should be a giant welcome mat out front.
Yeah. So how's that going to fly in Texas? There should be no border, just a welcome mat? Yeah, that's going to do good in Texas. Yeah, this is the guy that they say is going to beat Ken Paxton? I don't think so.
Do you know any undocumented immigrants?
No, I do not.
When I was a teacher on the west side of San Antonio...
Does every sentence of his begin and end with, when I was a teacher? It seems that that's his opening and closing. It's like a Hawaiian with aloha. Hello and goodbye is, when I was a teacher, or as a certified teacher.
I taught a lot of students who were undocumented. And I don't want to stereotype, but those students tended to be the most patriotic.
Really? Yeah, towards Mexico or El Salvador, were they patriotic to the USA?
The hardest working students that I had in the classroom. And again, I haven't stated this enough to say this definitively, but there are interpretations of certain passages from the Torah where some folks will even say that there is some subtle instructions for how to perform an abortion in the ancient world.
Oh my goodness. So the Bible instructs people how to perform abortions. This is the guy that the media and the Republican establishment say is going to beat Paxton in Texas. He also doesn't eat steak. He's running. This guy's more liberal than Beto, that's for sure.
Things to drink, things like that.
Before we go further, I want to acknowledge that our trans community needs abortion care too.
Oh my goodness.
Defending trans Texans is something we have to do every day at the state capitol.
Trans Texas.
And
is that a highway? The Trans Texan Highway? What is Trans Texas?
Better believe I'll be giving sermons on that too.
I want us all to be aware of is that modern science obviously recognizes that there are many more than two biological sexes.
Really? What science is that?
In fact, there are 6.
Is both masculine and feminine and everything in between.
Oh my goodness.
God is non-binary.
So this idea that to be a Christian means you have to be anti-gay and anti-abortion, there really is no historical, theological, biblical basis for that opinion. So
we're pro-family and pro-life. Everything's in a negative with these people. Oh my goodness. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Hey, Brian, this is Sean from Massachusetts.
Oh, hey, Sean. What's up?
Well, on April 15th, 2015, Trump did say, I'm going to take your country from them and give it back to you, the American people.
He did.
And boy, it was, the words just dripped with prophecy, because now...
Hold on while I answer the phones are exploding here. Hold on. I got the lines mixed up, of course. All right. Are you back with me?
Yeah, I'm here.
Okay. Sorry about that. The rest of you on hold, hang in there.
No worries.
Yeah, go ahead.
So, yeah. Oh, yeah. So, and what he's doing by getting these so-called America First, dissenters out of the way by November, because there's a deep infiltration process they're still trying to pull through here.
Yes.
And Trump sees it for what it is, and they're all starting to just dissipate now. We're starting to see the promise. Everything is happening.
Yes.
And people have to understand this stuff does not happen the next day. When Trump says something, he has a timetable where it's going to go.
Yes.
And how it's going to get done. We have to just trust the plan. Donald
That's
Trump's
right.
plan, because he's been right about every single thing. How do you go, if you're Candace Owens, you're Megyn Kelly, you're Dick Fuentes, all these clowns, how do you go against that?
Well, I'll tell you, there was, you ever see Tombstone with Kurt Russell where he played Wyatt Earp?
Oh, I love that.
That's a great movie. Yeah, my wife and I, we got that movie.
Yeah.
We're going to watch that this week. That's a good one. Val Kilmer's Doc Holliday.
Great one.
Well, in in Tombstone, if you watch, and by the way, this is a true story, and I've read several books on the gunfight at Gate. It's pretty accurate. Wyatt Earp survived, and his family got hit. And if you watch the end of that movie, and this really happened for years, Wyatt Earp tracked down the people that came after his family. And that's what President Trump is doing. I mean, how many members of Congress, Comey, by the way, has been arrested in his trials in mid-July. How many members of Congress are no longer in Congress or have just been primaried out because they voted to impeach him, they supported the lawfare, they did something to try to obstruct him in the MAGA movement. And there's not that many of them left. You can call it revenge. I don't care. So what? I call it justice. I call it justice. And he's purging us of these fake Republican evildoers. and the MAGA world, which are the ones turning out and making sure that his endorsed candidates win, were very happy to help him on his vendetta tour.
Oh, no doubt, no doubt. It's perfectly said. You know, in that movie, you know, he is like the Wyatt Earp.
He's like Wyatt Earp. That's right.
Yeah, he really is. He's taking them down.
And you know, Wyatt Earp was a Republican. The Clantons were Democrats. The Clantons were Democrats. I'm serious. I'm not kidding.
You know, I know. This all really, Tombstone all happened, and you know what? Wyatt Earp would be supporting Donald Trump today.
That's right. He certainly would. He'd be supporting. Yeah, that's right.
True grit of a man.
That's right. That's
That
right.
was a great,
I can't wait. Next Wednesday when we're celebrating Cornyn's defeat by Ken Paxton, that's going to be fun.
No, I can't wait for that because it's almost inevitable that this is going to happen. Because I mean, everything that's been happening has been happening word for word. Every time we say it was been said, it happens. Now with the momentum, like you said earlier, momentum is there. Donald Trump is not going to slow down. He's going to keep pushing hard. I mean, this is what he knows to do.
Yep.
Because he knows he has a razor's edge on everything. He's not going to stop.
And he has a list of everyone. You know, he knows who all the fake Republicans are, the obstructionists. And you know, what we were talking about yesterday when the Paxton endorsement came down, it's because they've obstructed, the Republican establishment have obstructed the Save America Act, which is the build the wall of 2026.
It's definitely on the same level. And you know, Jake, like you said before, how dare John Sue? They have quite a nerve, the establishment Republicans, to get mad at Trump for what Trump did, for not passing,
Yes.
And I hate, one thing that really bothers me is when somebody gets mad at me for getting mad at them for something that they did. You know what I mean? They get mad at you for getting mad for something that they did.
Yes.
Donald Trump is just doing by the American people,
Indeed.
and he's doing right by them. So they have no room to get angry with him for
That's
what
right.
he's doing now, because this was supposed to be passed a while ago. It
Should have been passed weeks ago. Well, listen, I appreciate the call. You take care, all right? We'll talk again. All right, you're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from? You're on the air. Okay, you missed your chance. All right, let me finish up with Tellerico. So this just cracks me up. If you're on hold, stand by. I want to finish this because I got some other topics I want to get into. This is the guy that the media and the establishment are telling us is going to beat Ken Paxton in the general election.
This idea that to be a Christian means you have to be anti-gay and anti-abortion, there really is no historical, theological, biblical basis.
Yeah, thou shalt not murder.
For that opinion. And if you think about it from a Christian perspective, something interesting that Jesus does throughout his ministry is he is breaking first century norms about women, talking with women, learning from women, having women lieutenants in his movement. And this was something that was kind of unheard of in the first century. The longest conversation Jesus has with anybody in the whole Bible is with the Samaritan woman at the well.
See, now this is where Tellerico's going to lose. I'm not worried about him. You know, he's going to go. He's not even going to go as far as Mayor Pete has gone. But here's the thing with Tellerico, and there's a new trend that's going on, and this is one that is really frightening, for me, and it should be for you too. And what the liberals are doing is they're changing up their tactics a little bit. They're infiltrating our churches in leadership positions, like Tellerico, and they're talking as if they have authority and are really rewriting Christianity. Now, they're telling us that Christianity now supports abortion. It's in the Bible, and adultery and sexual immorality. I don't think so, but they're doing it from pulpits. And that's a very, very dangerous thing. Now, if you're on hold, stand by. I'm going to take a quick break, and when we get back, there's a lot more to cover. And the number to call in is toll-free. It's pinned in the live chat, 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I want to talk about Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing. You know, Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing, he's a good MAGA guy, and he will never sell you a roof you do not need. And what that means is if you just need a simple repair, he'll do it. And that seems like such a common sense thing, but he's the only roofer I've ever heard of who does that. I've been through this myself. You know, in the house that I live in now, my wife and I have lived in this house for like 22 years. And the first time we had a hurricane, the roof, we have a new roof since, but we had a roof that was pretty new. We had just bought the house, and it was just missing some shingles. And I didn't know Tom Laporta then. I called everybody. I couldn't find one roofer that would do the repair. They all told me the same thing. We don't do repairs. We only do replacements. We'll sell you a whole new roof, but we don't do repairs. I said, I only need repair. And I ended up having to buy a whole new roof. I didn't know Tom Laporta then. Isn't that crazy? Yeah. But Tom Laporta will never sell you a roof you do not need. If you need a new roof, of course, he'll take care of that too, obviously. But if you just need a repair, he'll do it. And I've talked to many listeners, shocked and amazed, that he came out and said, no, you just need a repair. That's it. Give Tom Laporta at Laporta Roofing a call. The number I'm going to give you rings directly to his cell phone, so you can call or text. And he covers both the east and west coast of Florida and everywhere in between. 954-604-4602. 954-604-4602. And online, LaportaRoofing.com. All right, we'll take a quick break, and we'll be back with more after this.
From author Tony Soika, who was named 2026's Best New Author in Veteran Fiction by Insider Weekly, comes a vigilante justice thriller for fans of Jack Reacher, military suspense, and stories that fight back against animal cruelty. Pit Bulls in Paradise, available on Amazon. After 30 years in the Army and 3 brutal combat deployments, John thought he'd finally found peace in Key West. But Paradise has a dark side when he discovers a savage dogfighting ring tied to ruthless criminals and abused pit bulls. Forced into bloody battles, he can't walk away. Haunted by war, driven by loyalty, and fueled by his love for man's best friend, this veteran becomes a one-man army against evil. Now, the hunters are the hunted, and one wrong move could cost John everything. Justice is coming, and it has teeth. Order your copy right now on Amazon, in Kindle, paperback, and free with Kindle Unlimited. Pit Bulls in Paradise, from author Tony Soika, on Amazon.
All right, we're back. And, Father's Day will be here before you know it. There's no better place to do your Father's Day shopping than MyPillow.com. And with my promo code KANE at checkout, Kane, there's humongous savings going on for Memorial Day. So do your Father's Day shopping. If you've ever wanted any of these great MyPillow products, the pillows, the towels, the sheets, my favorite, the 3-inch MyPillow mattress topper. There's huge discounts on all these things for Memorial Day. So go to MyPillow.com. There's not a dad out there who wouldn't love MyPillows, a MyPillow mattress topper, MyPillow towels or sheets. They are great. They will change your life. You will sleep like you've never slept before. If you think you've gotten a good night's sleep, you haven't unless you're sleeping with what I call the MyPillow sleep system. The prices are low, low, low for Memorial Day. Go right now to MyPillow.com and use my promo code KANE at checkout and load up. And remember, Mike Lindell has been a supporter of my program for many, many years. And he continues to support the program because you in the listening audience are using my promo code KANE and buying his products. So please let him know by purchasing his great products that you're supporting him and this program. It's promo code KANE, Kane, at checkout at MyPillow.com. You can also call toll-free 800-716-4879. 800-716-4879. Promo code KANE, Kane. All right, back to the phones we shall go. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Charles, and I'm from Massachusetts.
Hey, what's up?
Hold on, I have another call. I'll call you back.
Oh, you will? Oh, I don't know about that. The rest of you on hold, hang in there. So President Trump, he came out yesterday and endorsed Ken Paxton over Cornyn, who is the incumbent. That's unheard of. That really is unheard of. And a lot of people are upset about this, including John Thune and Cornyn himself. And Benny Johnson shared this. Look at this. A few years ago, look at this. John Cornyn released an ad pushing amnesty for criminal aliens, and it was in Spanish. There was a lot of outrage. He tried to hide it, but people had found it and archived it. I mean, this is just another reason why President Trump endorsed Paxton. You know, this border invasion that went on did not start when Otto Penn Biden came into office. It was going on for many, many years. From Reagan and even before. There have been some years when it was more or some less, but it had always been going on. And why was it going on? It's because the Republicans weren't doing anything about it. And the Republican establishment, of which Cornyn is a part of, they were hardcore pushing for amnesty. And you may wonder why would they push for amnesty? What's that about? What's that about? Well, because they're not really Republicans. They're fake. Get it? They're fake. They're infiltrators. The way I've been describing it lately is rhinos like Cornyn and Massey are to the Republican Party what that CCP Chinese spy who was the mayor of Arcadia, California was. You know, people thought she was a citizen. She became the mayor. But the reality is she was a spy working for the Chinese. Well, these Republican establishment rhinos, that's who they're working for. Not the well, some of them may be working for the Chinese. There's no doubt about that. But they're working for the Democrats. And they push the Democrat agenda through, like amnesty. And, you know, the Republican establishment was hardcore pushing amnesty for all the illegals that were in the country. And this was before Trump came down the escalator and there was going to be a wall or anything. They wanted amnesty even way back then. In the early 2000s, they were pushing it. So, you know, those of you who have been Republicans long enough to remember what it was like in those days, it was so frustrating because you would work so hard for these people. You work so hard for them, and because you hope they're going to do what they say, and then they get there and they pull that. And, you know, when I saw that Cornyn post on Benny Johnson's X today, I also saw this one, which was really amazing. Benny Johnson wrote this today about President Trump. They shot him in the head, raided his home, impeached him twice, indicted him 91 times, threatened him with life in prison, and that's not even a complete list, by the way, right? And today, Trump is president of the United States and undisputed commander-in-chief of the Republican Party. How can we not be loyal to this man? Look at everything they've done to him. And whether it's Cornyn or Thune or Massey or any of these other rhinos, they've been working with the people that did all of those things and much more to him. And we all know that if he had not been reelected for this second term, he would have been sent to prison. Now, this is, I saw this today. I want to share this with you. This, if you're on hold, hang in there. And if you'd like to call in, the number's toll free. It's pinned in the live chat. 888-465-2631. 888-465-2631. I saw this video today, and I missed this. I don't know by how many minutes, but there was a major deportation action taken on a place I was driving today. Or when I got off the air today, I went down to Fort Lauderdale, and I was driving, and they had this major deportation where I was on the road today. I'm sorry I missed it. I would have. I probably wouldn't have known what was happening because you couldn't tell from afar. I probably would have thought it was just, you know, a car accident and someone getting arrested. But here in the Sunshine State, our highway patrol, our state troopers, are doing deportations. And this is an on-ramp for the Florida Turnpike, which, by the way, the Florida Turnpike's official name is the Ronald Reagan Turnpike. In 1998, when Jeb Bush was elected, the Republicans took over the state legislature, and one of the first things they did was name the Florida Turnpike the Ronald Reagan Turnpike. But anyway, they had this, the highway patrol, they pull people over, and when they find out they're not citizens, they get ICE and they deport them. But this one was crazy. and it'll explain itself. They pull over someone, they're an illegal, they're deporting them, and then there's a car accident unrelated to this stop. And the highway patrol go to help the people in the car accident, and one of them's an illegal. And by the way, it was a rear-end collision. It was the guy that got rear-ended was the illegal, and he's getting deported too. I couldn't believe this. And I was just here this morning after I got off the air. Watch this. This is from Real America's Voice, by the way. This guy's getting deported. Boom.
That's not good.
They're watching the traffic stop, and the accident happened.
Crazy scene here, day 2 of the operation. We're over here picking up one illegal, driving this van, and then this ends up happening. This driver slammed on his brakes. This guy hits him, but then this guy just happens to be illegal too. The density of the population of illegals in America, most Americans just can't comprehend it. I mean, literally, we're picking up this guy. This guy's an illegal driving, gets rear-ended by this guy who's just on his way to work. Crazy.
The guy that got rear-ended was the citizen. The one that rear-ended him was the illegal. Okay.
Guy who's just on his way to work. Crazy. Moral of the story is, don't come into America illegally. Don't drive without a license or insurance. You only have yourself to blame. If you're in this country illegally, don't blame ICE, blame yourself.
Oh my goodness. Wow. He's illegal and his car is totaled. Oh my goodness. You know, I know it seems, crazy to a lot of people that are in some of these blue states that you have the state troopers doing deportations. But, the state troopers, being a state trooper, highway patrol is really kind of typically a boring job, in the past. It's not like CHIPS, where they go on these adventures and do undercover ops. All they do is write speeding tickets for the most part. It's pretty boring. It's not real police work for the most part. But now they've got this new component. They pull somebody over. There's some excitement if he's not a citizen. But think about this. This is MAGA red Florida, although Fort Lauderdale is a very Democrat town. Okay, very Democrat town in a very Democrat county. But we're in red Florida. It doesn't get more conservative than Florida. We don't have sanctuary cities anymore because of Ron DeSantis. And we don't have any sanctuary policies. They've all been abolished. And still, there's 2 illegals in one traffic stop. So how many illegals are there out there on our roads? Pretty bad. All right, now here, everything with the elections is going so well for us. Caitlin Collins, she's not happy. She's got a lot of problems. Could you imagine going through life and not having lips? She has no upper lip. That's a problem in itself, but she's very upset because Trump's winning.
He said the Epstein files, something that went from seeming like a far-fetched dream to a reality. And he referenced that in his speech tonight. I want you to listen to what he told his supporters.
We need basic decency. That's what the Epstein Files Transparency Act was all about. By the way, today is the 6-month anniversary of the Epstein Files Transparency Act. We've taken out 24 CEOs, an ambassador, a prince, a prime minister,
a sitting member of the House of Representatives who we just primaried,
a minister of culture.
This is his concession speech.
And that was just 6 months. I got 7 months left in Congress.
First, what do you make of his loss tonight and what's to come potentially?
Thomas is a good friend, so I'm saddened just on a personal level. I was very angered.
This guy, Ro Khanna, what a piece of work he is.
Over the last couple of days, seeing the smears on his character. He's a good man.
He's a good man. He was having sex weeks after his wife of 30 years died with multiple women. His girlfriend said this week that he gave her a ring as a gift that was his late wife's mother's ring. He's trying to get his girlfriend to do threesomes with 20-something-year-old young women. And he came out on stage in his concession speech and began by saying the most anti-Semitic thing I've ever heard an elected official say, and he's calling him a good man, Ro Khanna?
He put his career at risk to pass the most popular and consequential bipartisan legislation in the Epstein Transparency Act, probably in modern history.
Everything's Epstein
it
with
pulls
these people.
off the charts, and it was to hold the elites accountable for treating young girls as dispensable. And he lost his seat because he stood up against the Iran war. And the lesson really is that people who are against the Epstein class and against this war don't have a place in the Trump coalition. And look, he was winning voters under 45 by 30%. And if they don't have a place in the Trump coalition, there's a new movement that thinks this system is rotten and that wants to build for the working class against the Epstein class for Team America, and they're welcome to join this new movement.
See, that's the second time I've heard him say that. He said it last night. I played it this morning. Then here he is on CNN last night saying it a second time. See, this is their new thing they're trying to do. The Epstein class. They're trying to get this Epstein class thing going. And, with the Democrats, I challenge any Democrat to tell me what the party platform is. They don't have a party platform, right? And so all they have are regurgitated words and phrases that really mean nothing. And they've got this new one that they're trying, which is the Epstein class, Trump and the Epstein class. Trump is the one that brought Epstein to justice by being the first person to turn him into the local police in Palm Beach. And then Mike Johnson released some classified intel and told us a few months back that President Trump was an FBI informant working to bring down Epstein. And then, of course, President Trump signed into law, the law making it a federal law, that the Justice Department had to release all those files, which they did. But when they keep saying Epstein over and over again in this new thing, the Epstein class, it shows you how little they got. And really, who are they trying to get? Whenever you hear someone call me that's talking about Epstein, brings up the Epstein anything, they're always a weirdo freakazoid, aren't they? So is that who they're going after? Now, if you would like to support my program and my content, become a Patreon supporter. There's a link in the description of the episode. If you become a Patreon supporter, you get access to a lot of exclusive things that no one else other than Patreon supporters have access to. Now, one thing you've heard me mention many times is that you get access to commercial-free editions of all of my podcast episodes, including this one. Okay, so all my podcast episodes get uploaded to my Patreon page commercial-free, but there's much, much more, including regular live streams that I do on the Patreon platform only for Patreon supporters. Okay, and there's a live chat just like on YouTube. And these are very exclusive live streams that you Patreon supporters have access to. I talk about a lot of things that I cannot talk about here or on the radio, and because there I have, I have more freedom. So you hear me talk about a lot of things that I can't talk about here, and we have an active live chat community which I'm very active with. And here's one I did. This was today when I was driving by that area where the deportations happened that I didn't know about. I did a live stream this morning before the morning live stream when I went on the air, and you can see I do regular live streams just for Patreon supporters. Now, when you go to Patreon, it says join for free. If you join for free, you don't have access to any of these perks, okay? The commercial-free edition, the exclusive live streams. You have to be a paying Patreon supporter, which starts at just $5 a month. So if you become a $5 a month Patreon supporter, you get access to all of that, including the live streams, okay? So there's a link in the description. Become a Patreon supporter and join the community, guys. And those of you that are Patreon supporters, thank you for your support. And, of course, you guys know that I talk about a lot of things that you'll never hear me talk about here on the program. All right, so Jim Jordan, one of the big things that's about to happen is the Southern Poverty Law Center case. You know, the Southern Poverty Law Center, this is an amazing thing. I always knew they were a bunch of liberal jerks who were parading around as some group of intellectuals. And I'd followed all the crap they had done over the years. But when Todd Blanche brought that case up against the Southern Poverty Law Center, I was shocked and at what I learned. I had no idea. The Southern Poverty Law Center, they were the ones that were paying the Ku Klux Klan leaders, the white nationalist leaders, the American Nazi leaders. All these horrible organizations are only active and in business and doing events because the Southern Poverty Law Center has been financing them. And, I knew that the Klan and the Nazis and all these organizations were not real, okay? And whenever there was an incident like Charlottesville, I would point out some things. The first thing I always point out is look at the flags. They're brand new. Many of them even have creases right out of the package. The real Klan, the real Nazis, they just have a flag tacked up on the wall. Their flags don't have creases and are not brand new, right? And there's other things, too, I would point out. But I never dreamed that the Southern Poverty Law Center was financing it. And it's even worse. The Southern Poverty Law Center was run by black liberals. So African-American Democrats running the Southern Poverty Law Center were keeping the Ku Klux Klan active, the white nationalists active, and the Nazis active. It's crazy. It's hard to even get your mind around it. You know, it's crazy. Here's Jim Jordan today.
Harass him in front of his wife and family. January 23rd, 2023, the now famous memorandum from the Richmond FBI field office. We know how it paid off, because in that memorandum they cite the Southern Poverty Law Center as the source. And of course that memo says if you're a pro-life Catholic, well, you're an extremist.
Mm-hmm.
You're dangerous. Yeah, the SPLC became part of the weaponized effort of the Garland, Biden, Justice Department against the American people. Now, here's what's interesting. The Biden DOJ knew all about it. They had opened an investigation. They were looking into this group. They knew the Southern Poverty Law Center was running a scam, but they dropped the case.
Yep.
They dropped the case because when you meet with them, consult with them, have them train your prosecutors, well, guess what? You're not going to prosecute them. Nope, you're not going to prosecute them. They're too valuable politically. You got to use them for your political advantage, and that's exactly what the Biden administration did. And here's the scariest part of all. It worked. Field Source 37. Again, he was the first one I mentioned. He was part of the planning group for the Charlottesville rally. He was paid to coordinate transportation.
Crazy.
He was paid to attend. After the event, again, after the event where a young lady is killed, the Southern Poverty Law Center almost tripled their income.
Wow.
It all worked. They went from 51 million annual income to 133 million dollars.
So the main crime is they were creating incidents for fundraising. So that would be the way to explain that in a non-political way. Let's say that I start a volunteer fire department in my neighborhood, okay? And I maintain the volunteer fire department that I've started through donations from my neighbors. But I'm going around, nobody knows this, I'm going around starting fires, committing arson, setting houses on fire and stuff, to create a need for me to raise money for my volunteer fire department. That's what the Southern Poverty Law Center was doing with all this race baiting.
Turned out for them, creating hate was more profitable than fighting it. That's exactly what they did. They ran a scam, they became the standard, they didn't get prosecuted, and they made a ton of money. Made a ton of money. They're sitting on $800 million in assets, $700 million endowment fund. Such a deal. Such a deal. But here's the good news, because there is some good news. Here's the good news. President Trump got elected. Todd Blanche is Attorney General. Kash Patel's FBI Director, and guess what? They're prosecuting these guys.
Yeah, and a couple other things about it. You know, we have rid this country of these terrible people, the Klan, the Nazis, the white supremacists. And the African-American Democrats running the Southern Poverty Law Center have been keeping the illusion that this hate was still in this country. It's pretty bad, isn't it? I mean, it's one of the worst crimes that's ever been committed in this country. It's very ugly on so many levels. You're on the air. What's your name? Where are you calling from?
Brian.
Yep. Yeah, you're on. Yeah, you're on the air.
Good time. IV. Good timing. Good timing with that Jim Jordan video there, because where I was trying to go this morning with my thing, but I had the phone error. Where I was trying to go and end up with the governorship and controlling the purse. Remember, in the House, so they won't have the money. Remember, California is supposed to be one of the biggest part of our economy if it does its job to help grow the GDP. So if we can get our guy in there, okay, get rid of Gavin Newsom, that's where I had the phone error.
Mm-hmm.
If we can get rid of Gavin, and even if that dummy, and I don't believe she even passed 8th grade, Karen Bass, I mean, this woman is running on getting money to have crackheads and meth heads get teeth so they can then get jobs. She actually says these words on TV. I mean, who tells her to say this, or she's that stupid to even utter those words?
Stupid.
We're going to take more money that we never spent. We never built the rail. We never took the money to put people off the street. There's more people on the street, more drugs, and more Skid Row. And yet she has the nerve to say we're going to spend, we're going to run on one policy. Oh, yeah, we're going to give people nice teeth so they can get jobs.
Yeah.
How about get them off the street first?
Exactly.
You know, it's insanity. The guy that was talking about the Jesus and the church and abortions, a couple of months back, we had that white lady that you played. The white lady was talking about how she had an abortion. She's a preacher.
Yes.
You see, these are, long story short, these are demons. These are demons. Okay, these are not real people. No MAGA, no intelligent person, no normal Republican would dare to think that this guy is. It's all superficial, like I told you. Everything they're doing, they have nothing to run on.
Mm-hmm.
Rokana. We're going back to fall on. Hey, look, how many times Brian had told you guys you cannot do more than sign an executive order to release all the files on this Epstein, but yet they want to talk about it because they got nothing. They go
basically the Democrats are running on that. This is what the Democrats are running on. Vote for us, so we can keep the Somali pirates and all the other Medicaid fraud going, and we can bring back all the killers and rapists from South America and Latin America into the country. But vote for us. We want to bring these things back to you.
Let me just circle back. California, we can turn off the spigot there. No more money for them if we can get our guy in the governorship. Okay,
Mm-hmm. Yep.
and with JDV and the fraud task force, we're going to go over there and individually look at all these companies, and they're going to start disappearing off the map. Okay?
That's right.
And this is going to put more money in the coffer to reduce our deficit. Because that's a big part of the economy. If we can control California, not even this year, we still got 28. So even if Mayor Bass wins now, we could still get around.
Well, it's like I said,
Am I wrong?
the very fact that Spencer Pratt is a serious, viable candidate, even if he loses, he wins. But he very well could win this. Hey, Abby, I appreciate the call. I got to run. If you're on hold, hang in there. My name's Brian. We'll take a quick break and be right back. I'm in studio with Joe Thomas in the Joe Thomas Radio Studio. You know, Joe, a lot of people are invested in Roth IRAs, and they're getting some income out of it. But the reality is they could be earning more income with an annuity, right?
So you can turn your Roth IRA into an income stream for the rest of your life, and it's 100% tax-free. And guess what? Your spouse, your husband, your wife will also get that income for life. And we can do that with an annuity. So your Roth can turn into that income stream, forever income, mailbox money we call it. Never lose money with an annuity if that's what you want to do.
Give Joe Thomas a call. Set up your no-charge consultation, which you can do by the phone. You can do through a video call, Zoom, or, of course, in person at his office in Jupiter. The number 561-743-0999. 561-743-0999. And online, jupiterjoe.com. All right, we're back. I'm Brian. Thanks, everyone, for tuning in. You know, the left are just, listen. A reporter asked President Trump yesterday when he was at the construction site at the ballroom, which was amazing. they said, why are people opposing this ballroom? And he says, because I'm doing it. Did you see that yesterday? And that's true. I mean, that's what it is to be Trump. They're opposed to it because he's the one that's doing it. Think about that. But there's a lot of things in D.C. that are just not that nice because it's a Democrat-run city. And, I remember when my daughter was little, we went to Washington, went to the White House, and Obama was president, and they were still giving tours. It was before Michelle shut down the tours. I couldn't believe the conditions of some of the things there. It was surprising. I mean, there were stains on some of the carpets. It was just, and around the city, it wasn't all that nice in many places or safe. The reflecting pond that so many people are talking about at the Lincoln Memorial, I remember going to that, and my daughter was like, "Oh," she starts to put her hand. I'm like, "No, don't put your hands in that water," because it looked toxic. It looked dangerous. It looked like sewage. And the capital of the United States should be a beautiful city, and it can be. And the reason it's not is because the Democrats run D.C. They steal all the money. That's all Democrats do. They steal all the money for everything, and nothing gets done. And the arch that President Trump's building, it's great. What he's done to the reflecting pond, all this stuff, it's beautiful. And I came across this video today. This is a girl in D.C. She's showing what D.C. looks like. Watch this. It's a park now.
I mean, I've never seen this many people out here. I mean, look, everyone is enjoying it. Everybody. A year ago, Trump said he was going to clean up D.C., and he did. It is clean, it's calm, it's quiet, except for the Chipotle down in Navy Yard, apparently this weekend, but I wasn't there for that.
That's right.
The homeless are out. The birds are chirping. The water is in. The ponds. The fountains are working. Thank you, Mr. This is the benefit of having a construction man as your president.
Yeah. And notice she's young too, right? And she's on Trump's side. And and it's what Trump said. They're against it because he is for it. And when it's when I saw him yesterday and he had that press conference at the ballroom construction, you could tell he loves being at a construction site, doesn't he? I mean, he was like back in his element. He was all excited going through it and everything. And Washington, the capital, it should be beautiful. I mean, it should be nice and beautiful and majestic. Why not? Now, these fake conservatives, a lot of them have been so exposed because they supported Massey, a lot of them. But a lot of them, like Megyn Kelly, have really been doing themselves so much damage. When Megyn Kelly first started doing her podcast, she had a lot of credibility being with Fox and all that, and she's just totally blown it because all she does is chase clicks and views, and that's it, whatever's trending. She's out there defending Candace Owens, who's saying terrible things, and like I remember she said, Megyn Kelly said, "I don't agree with her, but I support her right to say it," and then she says it loud, and then people applaud. No, I don't support people's right just to say anything. You got to have some common decency. And there's certain things that you just don't say. By the way, even if they're true and you're thinking it, you don't say everything you're thinking. Not that Candace Owens is saying anything that's true with all this filth that she talks about. But Megyn Kelly has done so much damage to herself. And the reason she's been out there so long defending Candace is she sees the numbers that Candace Owens has, and she wants that. Because Candace Owens has the kind of numbers that she thinks she should have, being a big TV star and everything. And I saw this girl, she was talking to Dana Loesch today, and she was talking about Megyn Kelly. Listen.
I don't think it has to be Qatar. I don't think Megyn's bought by Qatar. I think Megyn Kelly wants attention and clicks, and so she's doing what she sees as popular while pretending to have righteous indignation. But the people who are saying nothing right now, who let Megyn defend Candace Owens, who drags a widow across the internet, You know, the people who say nothing, you know that it means that they believe it's wrong. They don't agree with it, because if they did, they would just come out and endorse it to get the clicks and get that engagement. But they're saying nothing because they're cowards.
That's right.
And that to me is worse than taking the wrong stand, because it means you know what's right and you're still saying nothing. So when you ask me if I get nervous when I go on stage, all these things, what do I care? I know what I'm standing for. I want to make people laugh. I want to make them think. And that's really all.
Yeah. So, the reason I share this is because people are really, starting to pick up that Megyn Kelly and some of these others are fakes. And, tomorrow, I think it's tomorrow, the interview is going to drop that Candace Owens did with Hunter Biden. And, this Hunter Biden interview, it reminds me of an interview that Megyn Kelly did years ago when Megyn Kelly was on Fox. This is before she had the nighttime show. And Obama was still president, and she had an interview with Bill Ayers. Now, Bill Ayers was, for those of you who don't remember, he was a very controversial person. He was close personal friends with Barack Obama before he was famous. He was believed to be the ghostwriter for Obama's books. His parents were in the cell with Valerie Jarrett's parents, Hillary Clinton's parents, and worked with Frank Marshall Davis. And he also set a bomb off in a government building and killed someone. And he got away with it. And he was a friend of Obama's, and he got away with it, the Weather Underground. Remember that, the Weatherman Underground? He got away with it because he got arrested from information gathered from an FBI wiretap that didn't have a warrant, and they tossed it all out. And it was very controversial because he was a domestic terrorist. He's a domestic terrorist. He got away with blowing up a government building and killing someone, and he's friends with the president of the United States and has these connections. And Bill Ayers was someone that was talked about so much. And Megyn Kelly scored the interview. It was a two-part, two-night interview. And it was talked about for days, and then it happened. She didn't ask him one question about any of the controversy surrounding him. None of it. It was embarrassing. And I knew right then what she was all about. I was done with her, Megyn Kelly, back when that happened. You guys remember that Bill Ayers interview? It was pretty bad. And, she hasn't changed. She's always been this way, but she's got a lot of issues because she wants to be back on television, right? She doesn't have the reach, the influence, or the credibility she had in her mind and all of this. And she wants to be back on TV. And I promise you, she's not making anywhere near the money. She was making like $10 million a year at NBC. Remember that? A year. When they let her go, they gave her like a $10 million severance. And I'm sure she makes good money by my standards or your standards with what she's doing now, but it's not $10 million a year, and she wants that back, and she wants the fame, and she wants the credibility, and she wants someone paying for the staff that she's got to pay for now and all those things. So she's doing all of these things to try to be somebody, and the fact is she's a nobody, and she's blown whatever celebrity credibility she had. So with the Massey defeat, this is President Trump. He was asked about Lauren Boebert today.
About replacing Lauren Boebert after she...
If somebody comes along, I'd look. It's a little late in the race, but if somebody comes along, I'd look.
Poland troops, sir.
Yeah. Oh, this one asked about Spencer.
Do you see yourself in him at all? A former reality TV star?
Yeah, okay. And I already played that at the beginning of the show, so you guys can go back. But yeah, Lauren Boebert. See, the problem is she's very arrogant, Lauren Boebert, and she's running unopposed. And because she's running unopposed, she feels pretty entitled. And what she did, 2 years from now, she's not going to be running unopposed because of what she just did. This will not be forgotten. And, it's as you get older, you see people, they do something, and you understand more about consequences as you get older. And she may get through this now, and she may squeak through and keep her seat in Congress. But I promise you, she's in the House, so she's up in 2 years again. She not only is going to have an opponent, she's going to get primaried out in 2 years. She really is because of what she did. Now, you may have seen today this indictment. Todd Blanche came down here to Miami of Raul Castro. Well, President Trump on the tarmac dropped something pretty big about Cuba.
People there. We have the CIA there. We have Marco is there. Marco's parents, as you know, were from...
Did you hear that? Marco Rubio was in Cuba. First time we've had that confirmed, right? We knew the CIA director was there. We knew Marco was talking to them, but he's actually been Marco.
People there. We have the CIA there. We have Marco is there. Marco's parents, as you know, were from Cuba. So we have a lot of expertise in Cuba, and it's not going to be like the biggest thing we've ever done, but I will tell you, to a lot of people, it's going to be one of the most important. They've been looking for this moment for 65 years. So we'll see what happens. But we're going to, in the meantime, we're going to have to help them out. They have no way of living. They have no food. They have no electricity. They have no energy at all. But they do have great people. There are a lot of great people. I mean, I have so many Cuban friends in Miami, mostly in Miami and Florida, and they're unbelievable people. They're unbelievable entrepreneurs, and they'd like to go back. I think hopefully they're going to want to live here, but they want to go back. Maybe they'll invest. We'll see what happens. But we're freeing up Cuba.
Yeah, so Marco Rubio, he has been there. And, you know, this indictment of Raul Castro, this was not just some symbolic thing that they did today. This is something they did because they know that Cuba's made a deal to hand him over. You know, and he's Fidel's brother. And he's a very bad guy. You know, killing these guys, these aren't the only people he's killed. He was the head of the army when his brother Fidel was in charge. And he was the head of their secret police, and he did the torturing and all of that. So, you know, Raul Castro is one of the most evil men alive. He really is. I wanted to share, this is a little off of what I would normally do, but here's Mr. Wonderful. And, you know, he lives in the same town I live in. I'd love to meet him. I don't know. We travel we live in different parts of the same town. But, you know, he's a billionaire. I don't live on Billionaires Row, but he does. But he made a very interesting point today about people complaining about money and prices.
Can't stand it when I see kids that are making $70,000 a year spending $28 for lunch. I mean, that's just stupid. It's just, think about that in the context of that being put into an index and making 8 to 10% a year for the next 50 years.
Yeah. You know, it's really amazing. You know, he's right. You know, so many people on the left that are complaining about prices. You know, they don't make enough money, but they want to live, and they do live, above their level, above their income level. They want to go out to lunch and dinner every day. They want to have a house they can't afford. And that was you know, he's a pretty smart guy, he's not a billionaire for no reason. Very smart with money. And he was talking about what someone's mortgage should be and such, and what percentage. He said your mortgage should not be more than a third of your income, and people get homes they can't afford, and they spend too much money eating out, and they want to have all the apps, and they want to have all the latest. They want to have the latest iPhone and everything else, and people live well beyond their means. And you know, most of the people that are complaining about the price of things, they're living above their means, and they don't want to budget. They don't want to be responsible. They just want. And their financial irresponsibility and the fact that they live above their means is not Donald Trump's fault, right? Now, I want to thank the top Patreon supporters. I was talking about Patreon earlier, and if you'd like to become a Patreon supporter, there's a link in the description. My top Patreon supporters get a live, on-air thank you shout-out on every episode of the program. So the names you'll hear now are my top Patreon supporters, and top Patreon supporters also get their name up on the screen on YouTube. I want to thank SF Jr., Christine, Chuck, Pamela, Nick, Wesley, Doris, Heather, David, Maria in Texas, Alice, Lizep, Shauna, George, Brandon, John, Frank, Dale, Tina, David, Laura, Rob, Wes, Sue, Janice, Teresa, Irene, and Rick. These are my top Patreon supporters. Thank you all. And again, there's a link in the description to my Patreon page where you can get access to those exclusive live streams that are only available to Patreon supporters. You have to be a paying member, and that starts at $5 a month, and you get access to that. My name is Brian Craig. This is where MAGA comes to talk. I'll see you bright and early tomorrow morning. Thanks for tuning in. Take care.